Welcome, everyone. We are back with a clear perspective today, and I have a very special guest. I have Christina here, who you guys might have already recognized from the Titan Games. I personally watched that series and was so impressed by you even before I got to meet you. So when I met you, I feel like I was fangirling a little bit. But of course, if you did watch it, you'd remember that she's actually a dental hygienist. So welcome to the Clear Perspective, Christina.
Thank you so much. I always giggle when I hear that because I'm like, no way, you watched me?
I really did. And I was cheering for you because, of
Oh,
course, like, that's my dental girl. Like, let's go. But so impressed, so amazing. And so I want to welcome you. And, we just chatted a little bit about this. Instead of me sharing with everyone your story and your bio, I want to ask to just open this up and share with everyone that may not know you or may know just a little bit about you. Tell us your story because it is very inspiring and very, very cool.
I appreciate that. Well, as you already said, I'm a dental hygienist, also a water pick, water flosser, professional educator. So I do lunch and learns. I'm a mom of two. I'm also in the Air National Guard. I've been in the military for over 15 years now. So my time is almost up. I competed on the Rocks Titan Games, but that didn't come without a journey to get to that point. So I was raised in rural West Virginia. I always laugh when people say, how did you get into dentistry? And I'm like, it really just fell in my lap. The military trained me to be a dental assistant. And at first I didn't really take to it, but it really grew on me, especially after becoming a mother, realizing what a great career field it is for anyone, but especially a mother, I feel like. And so I left active duty Air Force to pursue my education full time because I really wanted to do something else. And I ended up getting my degrees and finally ended up getting into dental hygiene. Fun fact, I did study exercise science because I fell in love with fitness. I think it was a really good way for me to balance my whole life and keep me centered and something to focus on when the stressors of life, motherhood, work, school got to me. I had something to always come back to. So I did get educated in that as well. And so then I was just grinding every day and got picked up for the Titan Games and did my best. I tried to make the dental community proud. So I hope to have done that. But now life's just sort of mellowing out and living with my girls and enjoying life.
I love it so much. I really was fangirling because you were such a beast in the show and I was just so impressed. Like you definitely made me proud. So thank you for representing the dental industry so well in that amazing show.
Thank you
And
so
so
much.
getting to know you and just like hearing everything that you've done already in your life, one of the questions that I get a lot and just one of the answers I get a lot, and I'm sure you do too, when you ask somebody how they're doing, they're like, I'm so busy. And that's been like, it's just like life seems to be faster. There seems to be more and more obligations and being, work in the military, being a mom, how do you balance it all? Like you always, when I've seen you look just like you have everything put together, you're on it. Like, tell me how you balance it all.
Well, I can assure you I don't always have it together. That's for sure. So fake it till you make it, I guess. But in general, I would say one day at a time, one task at a time, one thing at a time. I don't try to overload myself with what's to come. Of course, I like to prepare and I do prepare a lot, but I just take everything one day at a time. So whatever's in front of me, I tackle that and then I move on to the next thing. And I do think also saying I'm busy is sort of a buzzword and like we're all busy. Of course, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just how we spend it. So I personally like to fill up my days with things that fill my cup up. And so long as I do that, I don't feel like I'm busy. So when people might ask me that or how do I balance it all? I'm like, what do you mean? This is just my life. But it's also things that make me happy too. So
I
I
love
hope
that.
that answers it, but
Love it. I mean, I feel like something that I'm learning is that if we're doing some of the things that we love or we're doing our passions and we're focusing on the things that really are our priorities, it's easier to balance them. It's not going to be equal. It's never going to be like the cups are always the even point of energy, but it's like it feels in a way balanced because we're focusing our best energy on the things that matter the most.
100% because I'm living proof that when I focus and fill up my military cup, then maybe my clinical civilian job suffers a little bit, and not suffers in a negative way, but I'm not able to progress in a way that I wanted to there. And then vice versa, focusing on my education or my family, then maybe military is going to go to the wayside. So it's all about giving, taking where you need to and what feels right in the moment. And at the end of the day, I feel happy and fulfilled. And that's really my main goal, anyways.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely love that. And so, how did you where did your mental strength come from? Because I feel like one, being in the military, two, being on the Titan games, like that takes so much mental strength. So
Mhm.
tell me, like, where did that come from and how did you create that mental strength in your life?
I truly believe it was ingrained in me as a child. One thing that a lot of people don't know is I was raised by my grandmother, and I wasn't raised by my family. And unfortunately, she was pretty abusive. So I had to just sort of like get an internal strength from somewhere along the way and just build that resiliency within me, knowing like, I remember being a kid thinking all I wanted to do was have a good job and be successful and maybe make it out of West Virginia. And, 8-year-old me would be so proud of me today, right? Because I did all those
Yes.
things, right? So, going through that and then going through a divorce and being a single mom, you get that resiliency through that. You get the strength and the mental toughness from that. There wasn't always good days. There was definitely some bad days, and I still have bad days to this day. But I do tend to challenge myself to get tougher. So something like the Titan Games, unlike anything I'd ever done before, I do not like the limelight on me. I don't like to compete. I'm not a competitor. So that was terrifying, but I just knew like I'm doing something I never thought possible and
Mhm.
something my daughters can look up to. So when I look inside and think, what is my why? That's what makes me tougher each and every time. And
Mhm.
so every time I do something that challenges me, I just think, why am I doing this? And then that strength just sort of comes along with it.
Wow, I love that. And it's easy, I think, for us to feel in our own like individual positions that like we're going through a tough time or something is challenging. But if we can anchor back through why are we here? Why are we showing up? Who is this for? That allows us to kind of pull that internal strength and move forward. And yeah, I remember because I am a competitive person. And so watching you in the Titan games, I was like, "God," like I was like screaming at the TV, like I was so excited. But I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, the mental toughness that it takes to be there in front of so many people on TV. Like, I feel like you could do anything now. And be like, oh, it wasn't as hard as that. Like, or it wasn't as hard as being in the military.
I do feel like after I did that, I was like, wow, I really can do, and sometimes military, like basic training. I was like, okay, nobody can stop me now for sure. But I remember being up there in 40 feet in the air, you know, dueling it out with Kim Kardashian's personal trainer. And she almost got me within the first 30 seconds. I wanted to give up because it was already so hard. But I was like, no way, Christina, you came this far. You are up here with literally the most elite people in the world. And you never thought you could be an athlete because you weren't allowed to play sports growing up. And you sort of were like, what the heck? How am I here? The Rock's watching you, there's lights on you. So I definitely just like dug to a deep, dark place. And I pushed her all the way over to the last moment where her foot was dangling and I slipped and I fell. But I was like, man, I've never taken myself to such a dark place before. So nobody could ever bring me to that point. I think like I've already reached something so in depth that like nothing can stop me.
But oh my gosh, you guys need to go and watch the show. Like, I bet everyone that's watching this is like going on Netflix right now to go and like get into this because it's very intense and so good. So if somebody that's watching this was, wanting to push themselves out of their comfort zone a little bit and they didn't really know where to start, but
Mhm.
they knew they wanted to push and maybe they didn't have the same experience that you had growing up or being in the military, like I feel like you have this like robustness, this like strength that you you can like really lean into. And let's say somebody watching this, hasn't had these experiences yet or hasn't had these experiences at all. Where would you say to start to push yourself out of your comfort zone, to start to access that greater power that you've demonstrated in many aspects of your life? Like, how do they start that?
I would say start small and start with very small goals or very small things that take you out of your comfort zone. Like just even something so silly. I know some people watching is like, oh, I do that all the time. But I still push myself like little things like going to the movies by myself. I've
Mhm.
never done that in my life. I'm 37 years old. And this year was the first time I've ever done it. And it was like, I don't know why it was so uncomfortable for me, but I just did it. So it was something so small and might not matter to someone else, but it matters to you. And
Mhm.
really, that journey is just about you and overcoming things that scare you, pushing things to motivate you, strengthening you from the inside out. So I don't care what it is. Like, just think of like a smallest fear or maybe creating a new habit that you have struggled with and building that consistency within yourself will build a trust within yourself and then really help strengthen you overall. And that would be my biggest advice for sure.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you use the example of going to a movie by yourself after like being in the military, going on the Titan Games. It goes to show that everyone has different, different fears, different things that push them out of their comfort zone. And so it's okay wherever you are on your journey of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You don't want to go too far at once and scare yourself, but
Mhm.
there's this really beautiful thing that happens when you commit to something and you do it and you start to build this self-confidence because you learn that you can rely on yourself. And that, I think, like you said, it really is just a battle against yourself and overcoming the things that can scare you or are keeping you in your comfort zone.
100%. I'm a big advocate for nonfiction books. I read a lot of them. And, hearing someone else's story motivates me, or
Mhm.
hearing it from a different perspective is almost enlightening. And you're like, oh, okay, like I can do this too. So, and just hearing that is, keeps me going. And that would be a piece of advice I would give 100%.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. What's your favorite nonfiction book?
Ooh, that's a good one. I really like Big Magic. And I like anything by Brene Brown.
Mm.
Love her. Um, I what was the last one? I recently read, and I need to finish it. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mhm.
Love that book. That one's not really so much about how to, get out of your comfort zone, but it does give you a lot of tips on how to just talk to people, really listen. Because when you listen to people, they have so much to tell and you can learn from people, and that's been truly after reading that, it's like I thought I was doing that but I wasn't. And
Mhm.
then after reading that book I was like, wow, I just let people talk and I listen and I'm just like learning as I'm talking to them, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Everyone has their own story and their own wisdom and their own things that they've gone through, and it can be pretty amazing. And I think I've said this before on my podcast, and I think I'm a bit biased maybe, but I really do think that the dental industry is full of amazing people because they're heart-centered, they care about taking care of people, they're really passionate, and they have this, like, drive and intensity unlike many other professions, similar to other professions, but it's that heart perspective that it really is in there. We all got into it because, we wanted to have a career or take care of people, and that kind of has, like, led us to different levels of success, I think. And so when you first started dentistry, you said you weren't really you weren't sold on it. What allowed you to start to fall in love with dentistry?
So the funny part is growing up in West Virginia, I didn't go to the dentist. So when I was joining the military at 22 years old, by the way, I was like, wait, I'm going into the military to do what? Like I think my perspective was I'm gonna go in the military, shoot guns, like do things like that. Like that sounds cool. And so I was like, I'm gonna do what's a dental assistant? What even is that?
Yeah.
So I think I just had a bias against it at first because I was like, this isn't what I signed up for. And
Yeah.
then I think it was the people and the experiences I had either with my patients or the dentist or my fellow assistants. And like, wow, I'm able to help people in such a new and different way. And then, fun fact, I actually lived in Germany while I was active duty, and they sent me to a school called Oral Prophylaxis School. So I was essentially an assistant who was cleaning teeth. So I saw now a new different way. Not only was I assistant, but I was also cleaning teeth and like getting that one-on-one, a little bit more autonomy and seeing like how I could help people. And I was able to connect with people on a different way than just meeting them on the street or something. Because when
Yeah.
they're there in your chair for an hour, they're in a vulnerable position, first of all. I mean, you just meet them, hey, my name's Christina, and then I'm in their mouth, right? So that's
Yeah.
pretty vulnerable. So noticed that I had a gift of really just like connecting with people, and they just had this sense of ease once they sort of started interacting with me. And that's what made me fall in love with it. It wasn't so much of everything I was doing, although I do truly feel that cleaning teeth is therapeutic for me. I just go into the zone and I'm like stress free in those moments. But helping and connecting with people was truly my calling at that point. And yes, you can do that in so many other fields, but I did have a special touch and skill set for dentistry in general.
I love that. I can imagine. I feel like you would be somebody that would make somebody feel comfortable and just at ease in the chair. And so tell me the places that you've worked in the military.
Oh goodness. So that's really the fun part and what keeps me around is I was stationed stateside at first and then was in Germany and came back stateside. But through the Air National Guard, I've gotten to do a lot of humanitarian missions or deployments. So I've been to Southeast Asia to a country called Timor-Leste. If you hadn't heard of it, don't feel bad. I hadn't either. Again, I'm from West Virginia, so there was a whole world out there that I learned about. Morocco, Alaska, Hawaii, and right here in our own country of Kentucky, I've been to. And so, sadly enough, sometimes those spots in right here in the United States were worse off than some of these third world countries I've been to. So that's all like, oh, is that I kind of lose track of them. I've been to a lot of them.
Imagine. I can imagine. I can imagine you need to like look at your like list and your like flight path over the past few years. No, that's amazing. And so what are you most excited about for the future? Like what does the future hold for you?
That's a great question. So I actually have a lot of things changing. You caught me at a time of my life. It's seasons are changing. My life is changing in so many ways. I'm actually going to leave clinical dentistry for a little bit to help out with a dental software company where I'll
Amazing.
be traveling a little bit and working remotely. And I'm really excited to see how my skills can transfer and help people in a new, different way and
Mhm.
connecting with them in a new way and seeing where that can take me. In the future, I'd really love to write a book or do some public speaking. I'm also terrified of public speaking, which is why I got on with Waterpick to do lunch and learns to get out of that comfort zone. So
Amazing.
those are the long-term future, but right now, just scarily stepping out of clinical hygiene. So that's what I'm looking forward to next.
Well, congratulations. And I was hoping you'd say write a book because I think your story is really, really incredible. And it's so interesting to know, like, and when we get into the dental field, we kind of think like dental hygienist, dental assistant, office manager, or dentist, but there's so many roles within dentistry that are so valuable. And coming from the clinical aspect of it, having the experience of going in the military and traveling and your fitness background, I think you're going to be perfect for any role that's going to be patient or person facing, human facing, that's in dentistry. So I'm so excited to hear how it goes. I am cognizant of our time, so I want to finish up with one final question, and I'm super curious to know what your thoughts on this are. But at the end of it all, and you kind of like have finished life and finished like all the things that you're working on and you're looking back on your life, what is going to be the biggest measure of success for you? What will success look like?
um, so I would look at it in terms of just overall happiness. It's not going to be, did I accomplish X, Y, and Z? Because maybe I didn't. Failure is a part of the process, and maybe I failed at this, but I excelled at something else. So happiness. My daughters are healthy, happy. I'm healthy, happy. And that's going to be my true success measure.
Mhm.
I don't really look at a lot of things in, a picture of financial status or I did
Mhm.
all this because, the funny thing is everything that I had set out to accomplish, I thought once I get this, then I'll be that.
Yes.
And I do still fall into that category. Once I get through dental hygiene school, it's all going to be over for me. I'm going to be so happy. And I am happy. But now what do I want? I want something else. I want something more. So just at the end of the day, I can look back and be proud of the day in my life. That's my measure of success.
I love it. I love it so much. And it's so true, especially in today's world. Which is why I love that question so much, because I'm so curious to know, with so many different people in different walks of life and different measures of success, and achieving so many different things, like what really matters to you. And I always encourage people to think about that for themselves, because it's so different for everyone. And you're right, the beauty of human beings being adaptable is that we adapt to bad things, but we also adapt to all the good things that come our way. And so it really is so important that we stay present and grounded and happy with where we're at. And so
100%.
I want to honor you and acknowledge you for being here today and just being yourself. The first time we spoke, you really inspired me, and I hope this story really inspires others. And if you want to meet or connect with you, just let us know what your Instagram is so that people can reach out to you, and I'll just type it in the chat here.
For sure. It's the THE Christina Luna. And I had changed it because I had this really fun handle when I competed on the Titan Games. And, when he tagged me, he had that, but I just really saw myself trying to switch it to more professional. So it's just my name right now. But if you have seen me before, I probably had a different handle. So people were really bummed that I changed it, but I said I wanted it more all encompassing of who I am and not just one category. So the Christina Luna is a way to follow me on Instagram. Um, and I love making new friends on there. So
Absolutely. And if you want to feel inspired or just, connect with her, I really recommend it, because you're just such a genuine soul and such an amazing person. So thank you so much for being on The Clear Perspective today. Bye, everyone.
thank you for having me. Bye.